yeah.
GM, welcome to another Touchgrass podcast episode. I have two special guests today. First, I want to give a shout out to my main boy, KG. So Pranav, the story here is I've been doing these alone. KG never comes to these conferences, always stays at home. It's the first time we're doing one together, and we're really, really lucky to have you.
No, it's my lucky day. I'm having a podcast with KG, right? Yeah, good to be with the Touchgrass audience.
Awesome. Okay, so we're here at IBW. This is my home conference. I have a lot of love for Bangalore, this city. I can't stand it after 3 days though. It's like one of those cities. But Pranav, thank you so much for making the trip. Obviously you spent like 20 hours getting here, so it's like wilder for you. 20 plus the 2 hours to come to Whitefield.
Yeah, 22 hours and then coming to Whitefield. But look, it's totally worth it. So this is my second year. I mean, would have been third year, but last year I was sick, so I didn't come. But the first year I came, 2023, first time, I was blown away by the energy and the ambition and like what I went back and told everybody, the leadership at Aptos, like, hey guys, like what I have experienced is something very unique. There is amazing talent, and what's kind of blew me away was that every developer is thinking very big. Yeah. It wasn't like, hey, India ke liye, like I want to do something small. Everybody's thinking globally, right? Like this is the opportunity, that is the opportunity back then. Like, oh, now this BlackRock fund is coming. Now I want to build that. I want to build that thing. And I was blown away by that. And I see that continuing right now. And now we see with Aptos and other things, we have so much, ecosystem has grown so much as well. So yeah, I look forward to this 3 days. It gives me a lot of energy to go back and say, hey, whatever we are building is actually super useful.
Yeah. Honestly, the Aptos team does a really good job in terms of the India ecosystem. Huge shout out to Naresh, Lakshmi, and the entire team. Let me pivot into what we actually want to talk about.
Yeah.
But in the spirit of building big and building like new technology, obviously you've been doing it for a while. You were at Facebook, then you head infrastructure at Aptos, and now you're doing Shelby.
Yeah.
Talk to us about Shelby. Give us like a brief introduction. What is Shelby?
And first of all, how did you come up with the name Shelby?
Finally somebody asked me. This is my
is it like a Peaky Blinders reference?
It's not a Peaky Blinders reference. There is also an American muscle car called Shelby. Okay. So when Ford came up, wanted to compete on the actual sports car arena, there was a designer. There is also a movie. I forgot the name.
Ford versus Ferrari.
Yeah, sorry?
Is it
Ford versus
Ferrari, exactly. Yeah, that one. But it's also not named after it.
Okay.
So it is named project. Unfortunately, I won't be able to tell you the name, who the person is. But yeah, that's a story.
So instead of a dog token, you made a dog protocol.
That's another way to look at it. Yes, absolutely. But rather than just making a meme coin, we are making an extremely useful protocol. And so the story of how we came up with Shelby kind of goes back. Aptos team, as you know, came from the DM Libra project. That's a continuation Aptos. And when we built Libra project, there are a bunch of engineers were handpicked from across Aptos, across Facebook infra teams. So the team at Aptos has a lot of experience building highly scalable infrastructure. I ran the batch compute organization for all of Facebook, and Avery was a Uber TL in that area. Bunch of engineers in the team. And when at the beginning of the year we started collaborating, we were just brainstorming with Jump team. So Jump is a high frequency trading shop on Wall Street and Chicago CME. They have built a high frequency infrastructure in-house. And there is Jump Crypto that loves to build infrastructure. And they're like, hey, there is enough block space out there. We have built oracles, we have built other things. What can we build as an infrastructure? What is missing? And then we both quickly agreed that the value that all the Web2 companies unlock, it comes from data. And when it comes to decentralized technology, there is no data storage technology that can store, serve and process data at scale. We have to build that layer. And once you start building that layer, then you can put compute next to it, you can do so much thing. Data is a base layer. And it's a very hard problem to solve. And so, but we looked around, we said, hey, if anybody can solve, it's this combination of this team, Aptos and Jump. Because Jump has very high performance infra, we have high performance blockchain, we have the experience, we have decentralized technology, we have incentive mechanism experts. So that both the teams came together and we said, let's build a data layer that competes with any really fast, high performant cloud data layer, right?
And do you think like 2025 and going 2026 is like the perfect time for something like Shelby where people want their data to be sovereign, and with the AI kind of taking over, they want their data to be more decentralized. And recently we have seen so many outages as well, right? Do you think like
Excellent.
now is like the perfect
Yeah, excellent question. And I think I'll even step back.
Yeah.
Why 2026, going into 2026 is a good time.
Yeah.
So we have got really good block space availability. Aptos can, like we have proven that if required, we can do million TPS. And that's why you saw the conversation with Geo this morning, right? So that is very exciting. But when you look at the industry, there are a lot of narrative-driven, speculative kind of offering and assets that were available. And when the macro is like booming and everybody's like, just jumping into the speculative narratives, it works great. But now the decentralized, like the whole crypto industry is looking at each other and like, hey, now it's time to bring real utility and real revenue, right? And so that is where that's one kind of trend.
Yeah.
The second trend is the big AI trend that we are seeing, and I think Shelby is not even in the decentralized technology, but because we have built it in a decentralized way, it's fundamentally much more reliable than clouds, and the data can be made available globally. So in the world of AI, people are trying to acquire as many GPUs wherever they can. And now the challenge is I've acquired GPU in kind of Central Europe. There are some GPUs that I have now access to. But my data is in US East, in Amazon data centers. You start taking the data out, you pay so much egress fee. Shelby is the first protocol with a global namespace. So wherever you want the data, we can make it available there. You can process data there. So I think that's, from AI side, that's a very exciting place to be in. From reliability and availability side, there are so many cloud outages. And when we were building this infra at Meta, we have seen that the outages happen because there is this control plane in your cloud that you build that is about your configuration, about your DNS lookups, about your identity lookups, about your service dependencies, all of that in this control plane. And then one failure kind of causes a cascading set of failures, and it's very hard to unwind from there. But if your control plane is a blockchain, you cannot push wrong configuration. You cannot, by mistake, delete the data. Like those are all very known failure modes where there is a bad push of a bad binary, and all of that is just by design taken away. And also the blockchain itself is multi-cloud, so it doesn't rely on any single cloud by itself. So it's very robust. Aptos has been having like 100% uptime since multiple years now. So I think it's a perfect control plane to build Shelby on. It will be fundamentally more reliable than the clouds.
Yeah, I think also now that we mentioned cloud outages, I think Elon Musk is going to promote this a lot more. Like the podcast, the Twitter algorithm will post it a lot more. Pranav, okay, talk to me about what's the difference between Shelby and all these other competitors that you have. Obviously the storage space is highly competitive. What do you think about the landscape?
Yeah, I think, and first of all the storage protocols have done a good job, kind of bringing permanence. They give you data ownership, but the way that all the protocols have been conceptualized is about, I have some extra capacity. I have a big machine with a lot of disks in my garage. I'll join a network, and because all the nodes connect through public internet, and the reliability of nodes is not that high. So the protocols end up replicating data many times. They put it on many different nodes just to make sure they don't lose the data. And it serves a purpose. It serves the purpose of backup. It serves the purpose of permanent storage like Arviv. But you cannot do any processing or serving at scale. When you try to read the data from any of the existing protocols, it takes you multiple seconds. Think about loading your stream, where you click on a stream and then now it spins for 5 seconds. Like nobody's going to use it, right? And then they say, okay, now take the data and put it in some local cache very next to you. Now you have to hold the burden of managing that cycle. Also, caches are very small. You can only store small data. Your AI systems need to be fed hundreds of gigabytes of data, or even terabytes of data per model. And so Shelby, even though we call it a storage system, it's fundamentally in a very different class. It's a storage system that is meant to serve data at scale. And that's why our tagline is Shelby serves. All the other storage systems, they store the data. We are primarily a read optimized storage. So there are read incentives. All the nodes are incentivized to serve out the data. If you serve out the data really fast, that's when you make a lot of revenue. And there are many pillars that we have kind of fundamentally built, which makes Shelby a high performance read optimized global storage tier, which does not exist right now. So Shelby is in a category of its own comparing to.
And then I would assume, since is it built on top of Aptos? Is that why it's so performant? Like, is there an advantage for an L1 to have like a storage solution?
So there are two separate questions and very good questions. I'll tackle them both separately. One is it performant because it's built on Aptos? We have 6 pillars that we have called out in our white paper that makes Shelby performant. One is Aptos as a coordination layer, very, very low latency coordination layer. Second is we are going to use a decentralized network backbone with dedicated fiber. So that is going to be 00 is the layer, is a protocol we are going to use. And so we are not going to go over public internet, right? So think about like Shelby data has its own private expressway to move around the globe, right? So that's another one. Third, we are using battle-tested hardware. So Jump Crypto has this Jump Trading's high-frequency trading infrastructure. We're going to take that storage stack, take some stuff from FireDancer that they have built. It's extremely high-performance software, written as close to the hardware as possible. So that is battle-tested hardware. Otherwise, it takes a long time to build a storage protocol. That's number 3. Number 4 is the read incentive that we have built in, so that everybody is incentivized to perform and get rewarded. Number 5 is how we do the data layout. So we split the data in many chunks. It's called erasure coding scheme that makes it super efficient. And then number 6 is our audit protocol, because on a globally decentralized network, if somebody says I have the data, they have to keep proving. And done naively, your entire protocol can waste all of its cycle just proving that data exists. So we have some very interesting novel auditing protocols. So all of that combination makes Shelby what it is. The performance and scalability comes from all 6 together. And that is why it's very hard to replicate for anybody to.
So you basically, to summarize, you're bringing the best parts of who does best, like from Aptos, from Jump and whatnot, and you're building this high performance storage solution. What are some things that people can look forward to in terms of use cases on Aptos and people using Shelby? And one of the things that I'm really excited about is live streaming. I think that it's just taken off right now, and people will keep referring streaming as more of how people, like entertainment, finance, how people thinking. So what are some use cases you're really excited about?
So 3 categories that we are very excited about. Category number 1, media and entertainment, includes, for lack of better term, centrally produced and decentrally produced. So user-generated content and studio-generated content. Both are a pretty good use case for Shelby. The second is AI, and there are multiple use cases within AI. And the third is deep-in, or any kind of large-scale sensor IoT where it's just so much data is being generated in sensor IoT, robotics, everywhere. And the data needs to be put to use as soon as possible. Then all the require this global processing. So let's talk about the first category, the media and entertainment. So, I mean, like we all know that our surface, like our time that we attention, most of it is on video, and some of it is on audio. Now even like
that's our business. That's all we do.
Yes, exactly. And so, and now a lot of models are very evolving with how you consume, how you monetize, how do you stream, how do you own, and people are demanding more and more ownership. And like, I did not know, I just posted something on Twitter today. My feed, once I got into it, my feed is now full of complaints on YouTube because they have implemented a new AI moderation. So the AI bot just bans your channel. All of your data is gone. Like 3-4 years worth of videos, they are gone. If you don't have backup, you lose everything. Like imagine it's your living, right? You know, it's like not that you are only fired, but your savings is also gone. Like your data is gone, and it's very hard to get somebody on the phone, figure out what happened. I mean, it's pretty shocking. So there is demand. Of course, YouTube brings amazing distribution. So you're not going to compete with that, but there is a demand for bringing more and more data, premium content in a way that you own the stack, right? I own everything. I want to monetize. I want to have it token gated. I want to have it payment gated. I want to have it subscription based. I want to have it pay as you go. Like there are many models that people want to monetize their data, and so you use distribution channels to kind of bring traffic to where your premium content is. So that's one very important use case for user-generated content. In media and entertainment, for studio-generated content, and now this mixes AI, what we are seeing is like there's a large studios, they have years of characters and content that they have built. Like NBC Universal is one of our big partners with WatchOS. And they want to kind of say, hey, there should be an AI model that has been trained on Shrek. and we should give access to users to say create interesting video content using our model, such that we still retain the IP rights. You can still monetize. We can share revenue. Right? So imagine this new economy that starts. Like you use users' creativity, use your characters. You have this model training, and everything needs to be on chain so that you can track it seamlessly. Otherwise, it takes forever. So that's another very interesting use case. In AI, I can talk more and I can go on and on. But yeah, I want to stop and say.
I think one thing like I'm watching is in terms of AI, like we're seeing more and more of these data marketplaces coming out where, right now all the models are trained with public data, and right now people are creating these marketplaces where users can give their private data and earn money, and that kind of economy is coming out as well. So yeah, 100%.
Yeah, there is give your private data. There is also crowdsourcing.
Yeah.
Language localization, audio is becoming one of the key format. You want agents to talk in any language. You want them to be super fluent.
Yeah.
And so as much data you can collect in any language, like India is a prime example. There are like so many languages. So you collect all of the data, and if you contribute and you help train the model, you should get rewarded. And all of that can be coordinated on chain, put it on Shelby, kind of sold and data marketplace. You get your cut whenever somebody wants to buy the data. Yep.
That makes sense. You mentioned India being like a big focus there. Is India also a big focus for Shelby in a way?
Absolutely, because the idea is to give developers as much utility as simple as possible. So even while building Aptos, we are thinking the same thing. Make it as simple as possible. Yes, there is a new programming language. But how can we make it super easy? We have, we are among like probably the first chain to think about like how you can have a social login that takes away all of this friction that users have to face. The same kind of foundation kind of moves to Shelby as well. Make it super simple, cloud compatible APIs. It should be decentralized, but in a way that it doesn't add any friction. In fact, with Shelby, our goal is that somebody who doesn't know anything about Shelby should go from reading the doc to building in less than 30 minutes. And so now, again, the India's, the developers are amazingly creative. As I said, they are aiming for very large use cases, thinking global scale. Can't wait to put Shelby in hands of Indian developers.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about the future of Shelby? Like, okay, this is where we're at right now. I'm pretty sure as your team works on this a lot more, you'll get it down from 30 minutes to like 15 or 10 minutes. The team's just incredible. Like I see a lot of Sneha's content. She creates a lot of video content, which I think is amazing. How are you thinking about the future?
So I think the future is, in fact, overwhelmingly exciting. Okay. And so our goal is to kind of just make sure you focus on one thing at a time, deliver that. Because as I mentioned, like the data layer is the first layer. As soon as there is data, people want compute. Okay, now I want to train my model. I want GPUs. Can you put GPUs next to Shelby nodes? Or bring Shelby nodes where GPUs are? That's all super exciting. There is like Aptos blockchain is like a nice event-driven transaction using which we can build workflow engines so they can stitch your cloud workflows very seamlessly. So I think compute, data, and orchestration, all of that can come on chain very rapidly. Once the data problem is solved, data is the hardest one, especially the hot data. Yeah. Cold data is kind of easily solvable.
Can you differentiate between both of them? Like for our audience, like what's the difference between hot data and cold data?
Yeah. So I think let's talk about this podcast. When you publish it, the first week, a lot of people will watch it. Second week, half of them. Third week, half of them. After like probably a month or two, every now and then somebody will click on that. So now, if you want to keep your data ready to serve, you kind of want to make sure it's available on all the edge nodes, and like your data availability needs to be very high. Eventually, you want to bring it to a place where data is still available for you to serve, but it's okay for you to wait a second or two, and or maybe put it. You don't want to pay as much auditing fee, or like you want to make as a data owner, you want to have as much economically efficient model as possible. So if your data is not getting read 10, 100,000, 10,000 times a day, you want to put it in a storage format that is cheapest as possible. And to make it super cheap, you store it in a way, you kind of maybe combine with some other blobs, you store it in a way that you can easily retrieve it, but it's just not as fast as the hot data that we are talking about, right? So that would be the colder data. So data is, like I said, data is temporal and thermal. There is a time dimension, there is a temperature dimension, because sometimes some old video goes viral and suddenly now you have to put it on all the caches. But as an owner, you should not worry about it. The system should be smart enough to say, hey, there is demand, let's push the data to all the other nodes. And when the demand goes down, you slowly start pushing down to lower tiers.
That makes sense. And it's pretty interesting how as we upload the pod, we never think about this, but then once you sort of understand what goes in the backend, it's mind-blowing. Pranav, I want to double down on what you said in terms of the 3 pillars, or like what's next in 3 steps. Is the Shelby team going to build all 3 of them? Like the Aptos Labs team is investing a lot into building infrastructure themselves.
Yes.
Are you, and the reason why I ask this is because we have a huge developer audience. We get a lot of inbound whenever we post podcasts about people wanting to build things. We treat it as an RFP, for instances. Is the team trying to solve all 3 themselves, or is it open for people to come in and build stuff?
Oh, people are more than welcome to start building and start contributing. Our goal is to build the core layers that scale, right? So I think there are some very hard, like I described in the storage part, right? That there are some pillars are very hard. We want to make sure that those pillars exist. Within that, there is going to be very rich APIs for developers to bring their own things. Like they can build their own orchestration engine and say, hey, I'm going to give you this new orchestration type and you pay me in this my token and this my project. And we would love to have those kind of developers. But we want to give them the right primitives, right? So that they can build it. And also make sure that it's seamless so that they don't have to worry about system going down or having some issues or debugging. They focus on their business logic. So yeah, developers should be, and especially infra-minded developers, should be very excited. So Shelby itself will be a platform where you can bring a lot of your own core infra pieces. At the same time, we want to make sure that there are enough primitives built in compute, data and orchestration that gives a base building block for all the cloud functionality.
That makes sense. And just on the topic of the RFP, Pranav, I know this is like a very stupid question because data can mean anything and you can build anything on top of Shelby. But I want to ask you, is there something that you wish was built on top of Shelby? We've asked this question a lot. We've got a lot of interesting answers in the past. What do you think?
I am really hoping, if done right, Shelby can become like this shared memory tier across all the agents, such that the ownership of your data still remains with the user, and users can selectively say, hey, here is my pointer to all of my data on Shelby. Think about your interaction with ChatGPT agent, right? My ChatGPT instance knew all about Shelby before we announced it because I had uploaded the design documents, people are asking health questions, all the private data. It's now that instance has so much of your context. Ideally, that context is kind of nicely packaged, encrypted. You give ChatGPT permission to say, go read that, be ready. Oh, by the way, I want to try it with Llama 6 model or new model, that open source model has come out, or Gemini, whatever, version 5. So your data gets locked in, and people, or as a user, even myself, I would love the convenience over privacy concerns. A lot of people think about convenience, but I don't know if you guys use iPhone, but in iPhone, Apple came up with this, do you want other apps to track your data? And now we say no. Before that, we are like, it's okay. If other apps track it, right? I can see some more ads.
It is pretty interesting. When I see that pop up, my initial reaction is always no.
Always no, right? Right. So now with Shelby, I'm hoping that agents you can give that option and say, hey, do you want agents to read your data from where you have the permission? And say, yes, here it is. If you make it that simple to use, then only it will happen. So that's my real wishful thinking. I have no illusions that it's simple. I have no illusions that there is a lot of technical complexity, user behavior changes. There is a lot that needs to be done. But if you think what is that crazy wishful thinking, that would be it.
That's also another way for people to embrace privacy more. Whereas if privacy is not talked about, or kind of like this, if you don't get that pop-up, we probably don't care.
Yeah, and it needs to be very easy to use, right? I think as soon as you make friction and say you choose between privacy or ease of use, always ease of use wins, right? And so when you say, hey, choose privacy with the same ease of use, then people say, I'll choose privacy, why not? Right? So I think I'm hoping that eventually will lead that way.
Do you think the privacy meta started with data solutions and then we came to Bitcoin? Okay.
No, that's
Yeah, you
it's funny how privacy matter has suddenly caught on.
Suddenly hot right now.
I have some hot takes there, but
You
maybe.
go for it.
No.
Okay, we are at the end of our time. Pranav, I do have a personal question for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as someone who's growing in my career, you know, how's the difference been between working at Facebook and then coming to Aptos, leading infrastructure, and now leading Shelby? You know, like obviously there must be like major changes in between all three roles. What's like?
Yeah,
how's the changes?
I'll also maybe step back, and again, there is no everybody follows a different journey. But what has helped me in my career, I've done two things. One is I've kind of followed my curiosity, and second thing, I've followed really smart people. Those are the two things I've done, and so that has really served me well. So, like I was having a conversation with somebody about they're collecting a lot of geospatial data. I'm like, oh, I worked on geospatial data in first 3 or 4 years in my journey. Somebody else was working on healthcare. Like, oh, I built an NLP engine for healthcare in between those before I joined Meta. And so I think just following curiosity has helped me. And so just like find what works for you. I mean, everybody has to follow their own path. But one thing I'll say, like when I joined Aptos at Meta, I had like this. I was a head of their batch compute infra, very large org, like big company, like what people would love to do. And at some point I was kind of bored, and I'm like, what's fun and exciting? And then like, what Avery and team are doing, because I knew that people are handpicked from across Facebook, like really smart engineers are building something really cool. And then when they took the company out of Facebook, I'm like, hey, Avery, like what are you building? And he's like, Pranav, we are building a lot of things. Just come join us. And I'm like,
was that an easy decision for you?
In some ways it was, because as I mentioned, like I was kind of, looking forward to doing something new and exciting. And then I knew that this is the best team, and that you can possibly put together. And then he just said, yeah, just come and build something with us. Like he's like, there is no structure, no organization, no roles and responsibility. Just come and join us, pick up something. And so, year one of releasing Aptos, like I was working like an intern, like night and days, trying to add some value, write code again after many years, and it was so much fun. It was a blast.
That's awesome. Pranav, we are at time. We usually ask this question at the end. This is our clickbait. What's your number one message to the Shelby community today?
It's not quite clickbaity. My answer is like not, but my answer is like, look, I made a claim, not knowing about Shelby to building on Shelby in 30 minutes. Put it to test. The DevNet is out. Testnet is coming soon. There is good documentation. We have multiple SDKs. Just go and build it. And keep me honest. Call me out if it takes forever. If you are missing something, call me out on X. There is a Discord server. There are many ways to reach out to the team. And yeah, I would love to just get more and more people start playing around with Shelby and build on Shelby.
Awesome. Okay. We heard it here. Shelby is not the dog meme token, but the dog named theme token, theme protocol on Aptos. Thanks so much for the time, Pranav.
Thanks so much,
It's
sir.
been awesome chatting with you.
Amazing. Yeah, it was great chatting with you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Thanks.
All right.
Cool.
Pranav, can we do a photo?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, I want to stand on that.